Hello everyone again. Welcome back. This is the second part of the first of the Civics videos, and today we are going to finish this is going to be the second part of the PowerPoint from the first video, so make sure you're watching this one second. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to start by talking about the functions of government. In the last video, we discussed some key terms and things we're going to need to understand going forward to talk about governments. And now we're going to get into some of the basic functions. One of the first functions of a government is to ensure national security. You know, you're not a very good government if you can't protect your people, protect your territory. So it says here, one of the basic duties of a government is to protect its territory and population. Once again, you're not much of a government if you can't protect your people. States typically spend a great deal on their defense. In 2019, the U.S. spent $686 billion, that's billion with a B, on defense. That's $686 billion. I put the number down there so you can see just how many zeros that is. That's 686 with 9 zeros after it. That is a whole pile of money. But, you know, if we go to think about what all sort of things that money is spent on, you know, that goes towards the military, goes towards military research, equipping the military, paying the soldiers, that sort of thing. So that's a whole lot of money, but it's a necessary cost to protect our country. The second function of government is to maintain order. The government has to maintain internal order through police and the legal system. It's not just the police, but maintaining order comes through the judicial system, the legal system, you know, as far as like having judges and courts and that sort of thing. That's another way of maintaining order. Governments maintain order by establishing laws and punishments for breaking them. You know, if we had laws but there was no punishment if you didn't follow them, a lot of people wouldn't follow them. So there's some not too great people out there, you know, and if there was no punishment for breaking a law, a lot of people would probably just disregard them. So as part of maintaining order, we have to have punishments in place for people who do not follow the law. Another function of government is to resolve conflict, and this is a way to provide means to resolve conflicts through politics and the legal system. The government should enact laws to set up a system of justice. You know, I think of back in the old Wild West cowboy days. How did they resolve conflict? Well, they'd both get their guns and they'd have a draw, shoot each other in the middle of town. I think I prefer our modern day way of resolving conflicts. Provide services. Provide a variety of services ranging from education to public transportation, and this is paid for by taxes. Now, this is one of the services this is one of the functions of government to provide services that is very necessary to maintain the country, to keep it going. Roads, parks, mail delivery, and water are also these services. Now, these services are paid for by your tax dollars, and they're maintained by your tax dollars. You know, while yes, it does cost to send something in the mail, or you know, you have to pay for your water, but you know, the amount you pay in taxes is what maintains it. It's what keeps it going. You know, these services, even though they do charge, they aren't meant to turn a profit. You know, the mail system, water treatment plants, they aren't meant to make money. What they are meant to do is to, while they do charge for their services, all of that money is supposed to just go back into maintaining the system, keeping it going. You know, they're not like a business in the traditional sense where they exist to function and to make money. These exist to just keep the system going for the betterment of the country. Another another power that the government has is they have to provide for the public good. Make decisions and policies that attempt to balance the public good with the needs of smaller segments of the population. One of the United States ways that they provide for the public good is through the EPA, or the Environmental Protection Agency. If the EPA didn't exist, then those sort of laws in place that do protect the quality of our air, the quality of our water, they wouldn't exist, and people who are less than moral, let's say, would be able to just sort of run away with things and do whatever they want. And you can't have that if you want to protect the environment. Once again, one of these functions is to make decisions and policies that attempt to balance the public good with the needs of smaller segments of the population. So while their main function is to provide for the public good, meaning for the most people, they do keep in mind the smaller segments of the population as well. Okay, so one of the things, a question that every government has to answer is, who's in charge? Who should rule? And there have been a few different theories throughout history. The first one we are going to talk about is one that was used a lot more in the past, in ancient history, than in modern day. This is rule by divine right. Now, divine right is the belief that the ruler was chosen and empowered by a god. This is throughout history, many rulers claimed divine right. They got up in the town square and they said, "I have been chosen by God," whether that God was Christian God, or the Egyptian god Ra, or just whoever their god was of the people. I have been chosen by God to be your ruler. And you might think, well, who's going to believe who's going to believe that person? Well, back in these times, if they got enough people to believe them, well, if you went against them, that's like you were going against your God. And a lot of people throughout history convinced enough people and got the divine right to rule and defended it, because they said, I was chosen by God to be the ruler of this land, and if you don't follow me, you're going against God. And if you think that your God is going to be angry with you if you go against his chosen ruler, well, you're probably going to fall in line and follow right along with what that guy says. Now, this results in the government being what is called a theocracy, or a government with religious rule. Now, theocracies do still exist in the world today. Some of the Muslim countries would be considered theocracies because their government is closely entwined with religious leaders, religious rule, and so that they would be considered a theocracy. Now, it's not to say that a government leader can't have a religious belief. A lot of our presidents, they claim a religious affiliation, but we aren't a theocracy because we do not have religious rule. Now, if we said that a requirement to be president is you have to be a pastor of a church, now that would be considered a rule like a theocracy, but we don't have a theocracy here in the United States because religious rulers and religious leaders are not entwined with our government. The social contract. Okay. This is the belief. It was written by this guy right here, John Locke. Governments are formed due to an agreement between groups of people to submit to an authority in exchange for protection. This was his idea that if people are going to follow a government, they have to consent to it. They have to agree. They will submit to the authority of this government in exchange for protection. So, John Locke was a big proponent of the idea that the true power of the government should be held by the people, and that the government only has authority over those people while they consent to it. That's the idea of the social contract. More on philosophers. John Locke, a philosopher from the 1600s, said that the social contract was the people's consent to be governed. French philosopher Jean-Jacques Rousseau insisted that for this to work, a government's power must be checked and balanced. Now, checks and balances. Keep that term in mind, because that's going to come up numerous times through this class, through the immediate weeks, and we will talk at great deal about checks and balances. Now, that is a big enough topic that it's going to call for its own video, so we're going to end it here on this one. And so if you guys have any questions, feel free to leave a comment, send me an email. You guys know how to get a hold of me. So I hope you have a good day, and I'll see you again soon.